Hey, it's AJ Mansour back again to share about Profile by Sanford because, guys, my goal weight is in sight. To date, I'm down 45 pounds and feeling better than I have in years. Now, with the guidance of my certified health coach, I'm beginning to transition from phase 1 into phase 2 of the Profile plan. So if you're ready or considering making healthy lifestyle changes, I implore you, check out profileplan.com for more information. It's profileplan.com, and while you're there, be sure to tell them that AJ Mansour sent you.
Welcome to another episode of Profiles in Health and Wellness. My name is Marnie Gellner. Eric Nordquist is with me as well, producer and co-host here. Our episode today features a special guest. His name is Michael Russo, who writes for The Athletic, writes about the NHL and in particular the Minnesota Wild. And he is a man that I have known for, I will say, probably 15 years. And in preparation for this podcast, I realized I know nothing about this man except that he covers hockey and likes hockey. So, Michael Russo, welcome to the podcast. I look forward to getting to know something about you other than hockey, if indeed there is something about you other than hockey.
Yeah, there's probably not a lot to me other than hockey. It's my entire life. But frankly, with the way that hockey is taking a little bit of backseat here, I better probably expand out and start doing a little bit more to make myself socially more adaptable to the rest of the world. But no, I'm really excited about being on here, and I listen to your podcast all the time, you and Nordo.
You're a big fan. I get that. That's fine. We all know you as a writer and a hockey writer and a hockey enthusiast and an informant and all of that. But did you grow up young Michael Russo in elementary school and teenage years? Were you a hockey fanatic through and through?
I was. I mean, I was lucky enough to grow up during the Islanders' heyday. I was really, really, really young back in the Islanders' heyday on Long Island. So I used to go to summer camp at a place called Green Hill, and it was like a day school, and we used to sneak out of camp and go rummage through the trash of old Islanders players.
Oh boy!
And you just fall. When you rummage through the trash of professional athletes, you just kind of fall in love with the sport, and that's what happened. The Islanders were great. They were my heroes, the Denny Potvins, the Mike Bossies, the Brian Trottiers of the world, Billy Smith, and used to go to Nassau Coliseum, and I just fell in love with it. And then slowly but surely, I became a paper boy at age 11. That was, I guess, before you really had laws that would keep little kids from being employed. And I would go around with my little cart and my Walkman, and I'd read all the articles, and I just fell in love with the sport more. The sports writers became my heroes. I wanted to be a broadcaster like you, Marnie, and I used to put a flashlight up to my mouth and call games and pretend I was doing play-by-play. And then the worst thing that happened was I moved to Florida at age 12, and there was no hockey. And I was a hockey fanatic, and I just had to pay attention from afar. Finally, we got a minor league down there called the West Palm Beach Blaze. At that point, I had started working as a teenager at the Sun Sentinel, and I just started hanging around that hockey team and writing articles and hoping they'd get published. And next thing we know, I'm a hockey writer for the rest of my life.
Well, and the last time that I talked to you, Russo, hey, it's Nordo here. Good to see you again, / talk with you. The last time we spoke was the odd balance of finding your passion for hockey.
Yep.
So that's perfect. Your experience in newspapers. You love what you do, the connectivity you mentioned, not only with your readers, but those that follow you on social media, radio, the 20 different podcasts that you do, and now this is the 21st, I suppose. But you actually, the least enjoyable part of your job is the most work-intensive portion of it, which means actually putting words down on paper. Writing is your least favorite job of your sports writing gig. How's that work?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, every single day I sit at my laptop. It is a chore. There's some sports writers that are wordsmiths, and then there's some sports writers that are reporters, and I suppose the best sports writers are both. And I feel like I'm more of a reporter than a wordsmith. And I feel like it just every story sometimes is labor intensive. This type of sports writing I love is actually watching games, covering games, being sort of on a deadline, even though at The Athletic, I mean, the best part of our job is we're really not on deadline anymore. We have no space constraints or deadline constraints. But it's hard. I don't know how I sort of fell into this. I love sports. I love media. I wanted to be a broadcaster as a kid. And next thing I know, in sports writing. And as you both know, I mean, the best part of being a sports writer today is that you really have to be adept to multimedia. You have to be comfortable with a microphone in front of your face. You have to be comfortable with a camera in front of your face. Even if you don't look as great as Marnie, some of us look like me, and you have to deal with that situation. But you have to be willing to adapt and do all of it, and that makes the job a lot more fun. I think that if I was sitting at my laptop all day for my entire career just writing words and not getting to talk on the radio and be on podcasts and talk in front of the camera, I think it would be very, very difficult, this job, as great as it is. So it's a weird balance, but it's one of those things where I've been lucky enough to have a career in sports writing.
So you mentioned the Sun Sentinel that's down in Florida, and eventually you make the move up to Minnesota. That's long before you and I first met via my job at KFAN. How the heck did you get up to Minnesota? What was that move? What precipitated that?
Yeah, it's funny. I mean, we're doing this thing for Profile. For years, I had a weight problem in South Florida, and all of a sudden I lost a lot of weight, and I felt a lot more confident about myself, and I started interviewing for jobs in hockey markets, and this was one of them. And it was just the right timing in 2005. We had just gone through the NHL lockout, and the Sun Sentinel kind of pulled me into the office and said, look, we really like how flexible and adaptable you were during the lockout, and we'd like to give you your choice of beats here at the paper, none of them being the Florida Panthers. They just felt like Florida Panthers weren't relevant enough down there. And I had, at that point, covering the Panthers for 10 years, felt like I was a hockey writer. And I knew this job at the Star Tribune was available, and I made a phone call, and next thing I know, I'm up here interviewing for the job, and next thing I know, they extended my stay here and had me look for real estate on the off chance that they offered me the job, and suddenly I'm uprooting my life, and it's been the best career move, obviously, that I've ever had. I had multiple options to potentially leave this market, go to places like New York and things like that, and I always stick around here in South Florida. Here in Minneapolis and St. Paul. Yeah, I forget where I am sometimes.
Right, jeez.
But it obviously worked out. I love covering hockey in this market. Really intelligent fans, passionate fans. Today's a day that I'm telling people that Kirill Kaprizov's not going to play for him next season, and the fans are just absolutely lighting up my Twitter account and things like that. So, sometimes it's a blessing, sometimes it's a curse, but the best part about it is that these fans just love the sport.
You mentioned your Twitter account, which is @RussoHockey. Instagram is the same, @RussoHockey. And I have always known you as Michael. You're Michael Russo. Some people refer to you as Mike, and that always kind of catches me off guard. Like, who's Mike? Oh, Michael Russo. Are you two different people? Who fits in the Michael camp? Who's in the Mike camp?
Yeah, it's mostly any friends, family, they call me Mike. A lot of people call me Russo. I mean, I don't know. Ever since I was like a small child, people just call me Russo. I don't know if it's just a fun last name, but almost any one of my friends call me Mike. And the reason why I'm Michael in print is that my first ever article in the Sun Sentinel when I was 15 years old, it said by Mike Russo. And my grandmother called me up. I still remember the phone number that they used to have. She calls me up, and I'm so excited. Oh, my grandmother saw my first ever article. And she calls me up, and she goes, what is your name? And I go, Mike. And she goes, what is your name? And I go, Michael. And that was from that moment on, I was by Michael Russo in print. I've never had a byline by Mike Russo. So
Grandma got you.
All my friends call me Mike.
Grandma got you.
Yep, she did. She was ticked off.
Your first article was published at age 15?
Yeah, I was working for the Sun Sentinel and the Boca News. Yeah, at age 15, my stepfather used to drive me to games and to the office because at 15 in Florida, you had to have a permit where you're not allowed to drive at night. And so my stepdad used to bring me to games. He'd watch the game with me. I'd cover the game, and then he would drive me to the newspaper. I'd write my article. He'd sit and wait and read a book, and then bring me home. And from 15 on, I've been in a newspaper newsroom, and now obviously at the Athletic and All Sports website that's amazingly blown up here the last 3 years.
Hey Russo, you mentioned down when you were in Florida, you had a weight problem. You solved it, and that, among other things, led you out of Florida, eventually gaining confidence. You talked about. Did you play sports or anything as a kid? Like, what was your it sounds weird. Like, normally I'm talking to you about hockey or we're talking trash off a mic somewhere, but now I'm asking you about like what you did as a kid from a physical activity standpoint. Were you an active kid? Were you a reader? Like, how would you kind of look back and describe yourself in that regard?
Yeah, I mean, baseball was my sport. I played it every single day, little league, high school, coming home from school, playing, throwing the ball around in the backyard with my brother or a bunch of friends, things like that. Played a lot of football, too. I actually played on the freshman football team at Spanish River High School. I was a stud until I faked an injury, and that ended my career. So that was always a tough thing. You guys caught on to that, right?
Yeah, right here.
Yep. I faked an injury.
Yep.
So we're playing football against Pahokee High School, and I look up. I'm playing lineman, and this guy with a beard growls at me. Again, freshman football. He like growls at me, salivates. He had a beard, a full beard. And not only did I grab my ankle, but I was offsides doing it, and that was my last snap playing football. So I realized probably at my freshman year at age 14 that I needed to become a sports writer. But baseball and football were my sports. Obviously, we didn't have ice down in South Florida at that time, so I didn't play hockey. But in New York, I played a lot of street hockey and things like that. But I really just grew up learning the sport of hockey just from being around it. Again, I've been around it forever. A lot of really, good mentors along the way, not only in the media business, but in teams and things like that I've gotten to cover and work with. And it's been a heck of a ride so far.
So before we get specifically to your connection to Profile and losing weight, some success that I hope you're having, you'll tell us momentarily. But, I remember back into my early 20s, once I stopped playing soccer competitively, the eating did not stop. And so the physical activities at the floor, but the eating is still what it was. And I found myself in college having a few beers once in a while, that the weight just added up. Now, at age 21, a few weeks in the gym took care of that problem right away. Now, when you lost weight and you accomplished that goal before, what'd you do to get there?
Yeah, I kind of walked myself then. I finally, really just stood up one day and just said, you know what, this is stupid. I gotta lose weight, and I lost a lot of weight quick. Doing actually a program very similar to Profile. But I'm with you. I've been a sports writer, as I said, since I was age 15. So, while my friends were going to parties and having fun and playing high school sports and things like that, I was going to sit in an office, and the next thing you know, you're hanging out in press boxes and a lot of sitting, not a lot of activity. And this is a weird job from that standpoint. You're in places that have food all the time. You wind down covering a game at midnight or 12:30. You get back to your hotel room. You got a 5 a.m. wake up call, so you don't get a lot of sleep. You're kind of wired from deadline, so you have some chicken wings and a beer, and you're eating at odd hours, and again not getting a ton of exercise, a lot of travel, and slowly but surely I just created a lot of bad habits. And you're right. My weight has fluctuated my entire life, and I used to just take it for granted that I would gain weight during the hockey season and then lose it over the summer. And, people would always notice. They'd be like, wow, I'd come back during training camp and be like, wow, you've lost a lot of weight. And then next thing you know, you gain it back, and it became a cycle that I just figured it. I used to joke around, oh, it'll give me something to do in the off season and I'll just lose weight. But then I got older, and now it's much, much harder to lose weight, even doing the same activity that I used to do, and get back to the good habits. So that's really when I called Profile, was sort of starting that, seeing that I really needed some accountability and some discipline and some good coaching.
Hey, Mike, with all of that said, that must mean that the Minnesota Wild have among the best press box refreshments and snacks in the National Hockey League,
This
right?
is what I'm taking from that, yeah.
Yeah, no doubt. And again, I mean, you're flying all over the place. You're in hotel concierge lounges. There's some press boxes that it's ridiculous, the food that they serve. And again, it's just also a lot of inactivity. It's sitting at laptops. It's all the excuses that you have sometimes. I'm a good example is I'm sitting at a desk right now in my office at my home, And to the right of me is a exercise bike that's just sitting there that sometimes collects dust. And you just got to get into good habits. And that's been the best part of Profile is that, every day, it's, I hate to say it like this, but it's something to do. It's like you wake up and you're actually looking forward to following the program, eating delicious food, getting great coaching. I feel like, I'm sure there's a ton of great coaches at Profile, but I deal with one, and I'm telling you, Danette is her name, and it's like she knows everything about me, and every week I don't have to reintroduce myself to somebody that's different. It's been awesome from that standpoint. And what's been really, really satisfying to me the last couple of weeks is that since I've been starting to talk about Profile more and more on my podcast, I get more and more tweets from people, direct messages or tweets or even emails from people saying, hey, I just signed up. You've inspired me to do that. And that to me is really exciting that, to take something that's very personal and private, which is weight issues, and actually seeing that just talking about it is getting other people to say, hey, you know what, I need some help too. I'm going to go try this cool program out, and let's see if it can help.
And what you're really doing, Russo, is getting yourself TV ready, Fox Sports North ready.
Exactly.
I mean, that's really what it boils down to, those TV clicks right there. What was
No
it,
doubt.
what is it about Profile that has clicked with you in a way that other things did not? You mentioned your coach and some of that personal stuff. I think it, for me, has been really helpful as well. Is there anything that really you felt like, okay, this one is different because this one is speaking to me because?
Well, I'll tell you what. I mean, first of all, I wish I did this months earlier because I started May 1st, and I'm almost hitting the 30-pound mark right now that I've lost. And I still have a long way to go. I got into really bad habits not only during the season but during the quarantine, and or the stay-at-home order. And so, but one day I was flipping through Instagram and I saw Paul Fletcher from Cities 97, go below 200 pounds, and I was so proud of him because he's one of my closest friends. And I'm like, you know what? Why don't I start this? And I mean, it's amazing. I called Paul Fletcher up, and within 1 minute, he had sent an email to, I believe, Kelly Ferraro at Profile. Next thing I know, I'm on the phone on a conference call, and we're talking. And a couple days later, I'm on the phone with Danette, my coach. And to me, it's the coaching that really does it for me. It's that every week, a half hour that I have with Danette, where, again, as I mentioned, I've done other programs similar, where every single time you walk into their office, you're meeting with somebody else, you're having to reintroduce themselves for the first 10 minutes of your 15-minute meeting, and it almost seems like a race to get you into their back room to buy food. And I just always felt kind of a little disconcerted with that, where Danette, every week, we're just picking up the conversation, and we're talking about the challenges that I just had, the challenges in the week, and things like that. And so it's been absolutely awesome. And I am one of those people that needs the accountability. Like, I know these diets by the back of my hand by now. I've done them so much. So I could do it without joining Profile, without joining other programs. But I need that accountability of meeting with somebody on a weekly basis. But also, like, what the best, I mean, it might sound stupid, but it's been the most incredible thing for me is their smart scale.
Yes.
Knowing that every day that I get on that scale, it is going right to Danette, right
is
onto
watching.
the Profile app. Yeah. And she will know if I say, hey, I'm doing well, but next thing I know, I've gained 5 pounds. She's going to know, yeah, you're lying. What are you doing wrong? Let's get back on track here. And so that's really been the best part of this is knowing that, just knowing that somebody else is kind of keeping an eye on me. And some of us need that. And I'm definitely one of them.
The cool thing is, Michael, is that, first of all, the Profile food's really good. But secondly, you can fit those shakes and bars in your carry-on as you embark to Edmonton, as hockey is set to resume within the next week or two.
Yeah, man, I hope. I really do doubt that I'll get the cover. The worst thing that happened to me today, because I'll be honest, I was going to Vegas. It was in Vegas. The worst thing that happened to all of us United States media people is them going to 2 hub cities in Canada. And the reason why is that that on the Canadian border, there is a 14-day quarantine. So essentially your media outlets have to be willing to pay for you to go sit in a hotel room and not leave your hotel room. You cannot even go outside. You can't go to the lobby, nothing, for 14 days. And so while you could work in there, you'd have to go 14 days before the return to play. So, I will say, I think from a weight loss standpoint, this is going to be the best thing for me, because if I don't go cover, I'll be able to cover from home and continue the routine that I've started right now and not change things up and really get to my goal weight. But as you just mentioned, Eric, what I am looking forward to is eventually being able to get back onto the road and cover games. And as you said, carry around the food that I'm able to get from Profile. And it's so easy to carry around and follow their program and see if I can do it on the road. I've done it before, and now it's just a matter of, can I do it again?
Well, just think of all the Marriott points you're missing out on, Mike, if you don't head up there. I mean, it's a real wasted opportunity.
Trust me, I am getting killed by the lack of Marriott points right now.
From rummaging through the New York Islanders trash to Profile success story, Michael Russo, you are forever an entertaining human being and someone I call a friend, and it's been really nice chatting with you about something other than just details of the NHL season. So thank you, my friend. This was enjoyable.
Yeah, it was awesome talking to you both.
At Russo Hockey for Twitter and Instagram, Michael Russo of The Athletic and theathletic.com. Thank you for listening to this episode of Profiles in Health and Wellness.